Welcome to another episode of The Traumatic Tales of Dedman and Grumpy. So, as this is taking place of the second digital dismemberment, this is where we have some fun with some B-grade horror films. The rating system is a little bit different, so Grumpy, tell them how we do it.
Well, we got a three-tier system to kind of cover all of the bases here in the movies that we'll be watching. We're going to start off on Skulls. Skulls is your first tier, and that's going to be like the scariness or the, things that give the movie a real horror flavor, or maybe even commendable things they might do with special effects and things like that. Bones will be on a level of 1 to 5, and that's for you guys out there that are looking for a little something for the spank bank. If you want to hold on to that for a while. If a nipple will make an appearance, there will definitely be at least a 1.5 bone score. Hopefully that is just one full bone score for you. And finally we have leaves. We will recommend 1 to 5 leaves. One leaf being like that pill grandma left on the counter, where 5 is, you're sucking on tequila with a bong in your ass. Okay, so There you go. That kind of lets you know what the rules are, and you guys play along at home.
So let's get right into it. And the name of tonight's movie is Primal Rage. This 2018 film, directed by Patrick McGee, has a bit of an interesting cast. I can't say that I've placed any of them from anything in particular, but we have Casey Cagliari, Andrew Joseph Montgomery, Jameson Pazak, Marshall Hilton, Jim Roof, Blake Johnson, Brandon Gibson, Trevor Wright, Eloy Casados, and Matt Harold. Put out by Blue Fox. Interesting film. Showtime movie. Interesting concept. It is definitely a technically sound movie. What did you think, Grumpy?
I like the movie. I saw that the movie was going to be on. I said, well, man, this is a B flick for sure. We've got to check this out and give it a review. But I do have to say I was pleasantly surprised. It wasn't nearly as bad as I thought it was going to be. IMDb gives it what like a 4.9 or something like that. But it was actually a very entertaining movie and done very well with a pretty cool take on the whole Bigfoot / Sasquatch legend.
True. And to give people the background of the film, a newly reunited young couple's drive through the Pacific Northwest turns into a nightmare as they are forced to face nature, unsavory locals, and a monstrous creature known to the Native Americans as Oma.
Oh my goodness.
That's definitely a good way to put it. That's one of the things that jumps out right at you is they could have really cheated and gone digital with the whole thing, and they didn't. You can definitely tell that there was a creature suit involved. I think it's very unique. Like we've seen over the last couple of years more and more stuff about Sasquatch and things like that, but I wouldn't necessarily say that this was Sasquatch or Bigfoot. This is something a little bit different.
Amazing use of ferns in this movie.
Yes.
Redwoods and ferns are everywhere in this movie. But yes, getting serious, the costume design for the villain in the movie was absolutely awesome. They integrated a lot of their natural surroundings, almost like they went to our last week's sponsor and checked out Psycho Sun ghillie suits, because they did a great job of making the villain blend into the surroundings in this movie.
Well, it's true, and one of the things that I found interesting researching the director, he's done special effects, and one of the, it was funny when the film started, I commented, okay, I'm waiting for the Predator to jump in. And it just so happens that the director of the film had done special effects work on Alien vs. Predator.
Well, there you go.
So, little after-the-fact knowledge, which just kind of made that whole Predator thing funny to me. I thought the acting was relatively capable. I don't feel like what do you want to call it? The side dishes for the creature were supposed to be character depth creatures. I thought the main characters were fleshed out all right. I kind of feel like the deputy kind of disappeared halfway through the movie.
He did. He was tripping peyote, so, I can't blame him. I think I'd be gone if I was tripping peyote in a teepee somewhere. But, you got to admit, Dedman, I did kind of call it on how our people were going to die. I was wrong about one of our heroes. I almost named the exact order we were going to be losing our buddies through. And that led to one of your favorite death scenes in this movie.
Which one are we speaking of?
How about the unhinging of the jaw?
Oh, yeah. There's as far as I can tell, it's a practical effect. There's an amazing scene with a jaw getting ripped off, and for those of you that listened, if you remember when I did my review of Trauma a couple of weeks ago, and I talk about the jaw ripping that, this may actually even top that. I mean, there's a sheer viciousness and brutality to it that shows you that there was definitely talent behind this project.
Well, I agree. My favorite scene in the movie is where bald guy number one gets the old thumb to the eyeballs, and then your head is now a jelly donut treatment.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Up against the tree. Lots of cool things. The villain in this movie is really, really well done. He's got a multitude of attacks. He's actually using primitive weapons and making primitive tools. And that adds a whole new aspect to the slasher film, where you don't just have a guy running around in the woods, but you're like, holy shit, he's got that too. Where in the hell did that come from?
Right. And and it's not, to me, it's not even a big knock, because I don't think it hurts the film that much. But I do feel like the only part of the acting that I question just slightly is the married couple. And it's when the hunting group makes a comment about him being overprotective of his wife. And now when you look back on it, it was like he was in guard mode, but it seemed so forced for the film. Other than that, I felt like all the interactions were good. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more of the subplot with the deputy, because at first, during the peyote trip, I thought they were going somewhere with that.
Yeah, the deputy really didn't do that much to the film except pick on the sheriff guy who had a much bigger role in the movie. Getting back to the protective thing that you mentioned just a minute ago, I kind of disagree. If I'm walking around in the woods in the middle of abso-fucking-lutely nowhere with a bunch of damn trees and a gazillion fucking ferns every goddamn where, and my wife is wearing nothing but a wife beater and a pair of cotton panties, we'll also address that in the bone score here in a minute. I am going to be in protective mode when I come up a bunch of damn beer belly fucking tobacco chewing hillbillies with guns in the woods, and all I'm wearing is my fucking Levi's. I'm going to be protective of my wife.
Fair enough. I just felt like, in terms of the acting, I felt like he was forcing the issue a little much. I understand the sentiment, but yeah. Like I said, it's not something that detracts from the film, because his character makes up for it later in the film. It was just that one segment that kind of stuck out.
There will not be any Oscars nominations coming from this movie. I'm sorry. No.
Yeah, but it should get. I mean, there are elements that were good. I thought the locations were good. I thought the camera work was pretty sharp. I thought the sound quality was good. There's a lot to like about this film, and when we get to our ratings here in just a couple of seconds, I think we can highlight some of those things real quick. But overall, a fun movie, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely, a great movie.
So, it's time for our ratings. As far as I see it, for our skulls, I'm actually going to give this a 3.5 to a 3.75. I really think the makeup does something for this film. It takes it all to another level. Like I said, the creature, they could have really cheated and gone digital the whole way, and they didn't. So there's something to be said for that. There's plenty of blood. There's a decent amount of gore. So there's plenty to gravitate towards when it comes to that part of the filmmaking process. as far as the bones go, sexiness. There's a initial hotness at the beginning of the film. There's a little quick scene, quick being the operative word. And then there's a questionable Sasquatch sexual assault thing. I'm not sure where to go with that. Overall, I'd for sexiness, I'd give it a 1.5, maybe 2. As far as leaves go, yeah, I would say a 3 or 4 would be good to get through this. You don't need to be totally blasted to enjoy this film.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you on the skull system. The skulls, I would give this movie a good 3.5 because I do think it was very well done. Kind of gets a little bit too much for me. I don't really like to see into the personal life of the villain too much, and they go a little further with that. Sexiness of this movie, a solid 0.75. We do get a nice sidewinder right there in the early part of the movie when she gets out of the river and takes her shirt off to kind of dry out a little bit, and she's all wet and looks so vulnerable. And if you're into Bigfoot butt raping, you might enjoy another scene in this movie where you're not really sure what happens, but she does have a look like there was no lube involved. Leaves. I was at a solid 2.5 for this movie, so I definitely would suggest maybe a little herbal refreshment when taking part in watching this movie, and it'll definitely make it a little better.
Well, I mean, again, another fantastic movie. And tonight's review was brought to us by...
This week's sponsor is Granny Spatch. Granny Spatch is a 100% organic blend of used chewing tobacco and granny spit. This formula is a miracle healing tonic. It fixes everything from herpes to gunshots. Do you have hammer toes, ringworm, or anal fissures? If you have anal fissures, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Granny Spatch has you covered. Granny Spatch is made locally by a crazy bitch in a nasty-ass cabin with no fucking bathroom. You can find Granny Spatch at your local pharmacy in the dumpster section. Grab you some today.